What do a foul-mouthed pope, a zombie apocalypse, and a teen superhero have in common? They all came from the mind of Robert Kirkman, one of the most prolific comic book creators of the 21st century. From self-publishing wild parody comics to launching billion-dollar franchises like The Walking Dead and Invincible, Kirkman's career is proof that creative persistence can change an industry, and I'm going to tell you how he did it. This is the Robert Kirkman Creative Mastermind Playbook. Born and raised in Richmond, Kentucky, Kirkman grew up like most of us, as a massive comic book fan. Like many kids of the 80s and 90s, he devoured Spider-Man, X-Men, and whatever he could get his hands on. But unlike most fans, Kirkman didn't just want to read comics, he was obsessed with creating them. By the late 1990s, he and his high school friend, Tony Moore, started making comics together. Their first idea? Battle Pope. Battle Pope is exactly what it sounds like. Imagine the leader of the Catholic Church, but he's a hard-drinking, foul-mouthed warrior fighting demons in a post-apocalyptic world. It was crazy, irreverent, and completely different from anything anyone else was publishing. It had a lot of energy in its first pages, just like the first issues of Ninja Turtles and Cerebus. It starts to show off a fresh new voice in comics. But Kirkman didn't have a publisher, so in the year 2000, he self-published Battle Pope under his own label, Funkotron. He scraped together money, and when I say scraped, I mean he went into credit card debt to print copies and sell them at comic conventions and local comic shops. And you know what? Battle Pope didn't make Kirkman rich, but it did something more valuable. It got him noticed by Image Comics, the company that was founded by legends Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee. In 2002, Kirkman and artist E.J. Su launched a new series called Techjacket under Image, a sci-fi superhero book about a teenager who finds alien battle armor. But he wasn't satisfied with just one comic. He had a ton of ideas and a publisher willing to back him on it. So in 2003, just 3 years after the first issue of Battle Pope, everything changes with his next creations. Kirkman launched the two projects that would define his career, Invincible and The Walking Dead. He goes on to create a total of 16 original comics, including The Astounding Wolfman, Super Dinosaur, Oblivion Song, Firepower, Battle Beast, Void Rivals, and the latest one in 2025 with artist David Finch called Skinbreaker. Obviously, not the last one either. So how does Robert Kirkman actually create? What's his process for coming up with stories that hook millions of viewers and readers? First, Kirkman doesn't believe in overthinking. He values momentum over perfection. He has described himself as a pantser, as in by the seat of his pants, rather than a plotter in writing terms. That means he doesn't outline everything in advance. He knows the broad strokes, the major character arcs, the big twists, but he discovers the details as he writes. For The Walking Dead, Kirkman knew he wanted to explore survival, morality, and human nature in an apocalypse, but he didn't plan out every single issue. He let the characters guide him. If a character wasn't working, they died. If a storyline felt stale, he blew it up, literally. The only outline he does is like this one-page overview of what was going to happen in The Walking Dead issue number 28. He lines the page numbers down the left-hand side and drops note on what is going to happen on each page. He knows the last page has the main character, spoiler alert, wake up without a hand as a cliffhanger, and works to fill out the rest of the story. Sometimes he'll add a cool 2-page spread, some cool dialogue ideas, and how much of a gut punch should this issue have. And then he sits down and types out the script for artist Charlie Adlard. This approach keeps the writing fresh and unpredictable. Kirkman himself doesn't always know what's coming, which means readers don't either. There's a spontaneity to his work that makes it feel alive. Kirkman is also a master of the what-if question. He takes familiar genres and asks, what if we took it one step further? What if a zombie outbreak happened and never ended? What if Superman was actually evil? What if a major city was transported to a monster-filled alternate dimension and one man kept going back to save people everyone else had abandoned? He's not necessarily creating an entirely new concept, he's remixing existing ones in ways that feel fresh. Like how Quentin Tarantino blends genres, borrowing from obscure foreign films and using non-linear narratives. Or Cowboy Bebop, Shinichiro Watanabe's stunning remix of American westerns, film noir, and 1970s kung fu flicks, all set against a backdrop of jazz and blues music. Another key part of Kirkman's success and his process is collaboration. He's worked with incredible artists like Chris Burnham, Jason Howard, Ryan Otley, and Chris Samney, and he understands that comics are a visual medium, and he trusts his artists to bring their own ideas to the table, and that some of the most iconic moments in his comics came from artistic decisions, not just the scripts. He writes lean, giving artists room to interpret and add their own flair. Perhaps most importantly, Kirkman builds his stories around character conflict, both internal and external. In The Walking Dead, the zombies are almost secondary. The real story is about Rick Grimes and his group navigating impossible moral choices. Do you kill to protect your family? Do you trust strangers? How much of your humanity do you sacrifice just to survive? In Invincible, Mark Grayson is constantly torn between being a normal teenager and his superhero with world-ending responsibilities. His relationship with his father becomes the emotional core of the entire series. Kirkman doesn't shy away from putting his characters through hell. He's famous for saying that he wants readers to feel genuine fear that their favorite character could die at any moment. That stakes-driven storytelling keeps people turning pages. His creative process boils down to a few key principles. Start with a strong what-if premise. Let characters drive the story. Don't overthink, keep momentum. Collaborate with your artists and know when to end the story. It's a philosophy that prioritizes storytelling over formula, and it works. Over the years, Kirkman shared countless insights about the creative process, the industry, and what it takes to succeed. Lesson 1, just start. One of Kirkman's most repeated pieces of advice is simple. Stop waiting, start creating. He's been vocal about how he didn't wait for Marvel or DC to give him permission. He made Battle Pope because he wanted to make comics, not because he thought it would make him famous. In his mind, the act of creating is more important than the result. Kirkman has said that too many aspiring creators spend years planning the perfect comic or the perfect screenplay, but they never actually make it. He argues that you learn by doing, not by planning. Your first work won't be perfect, but it'll teach you lessons that no amount of theorizing can. The lesson here is about action over perfection. Make the thing, put it out into the world, learn from response, then make the next thing better. Lesson 2, own your work if you can. Another major theme Kirkman adheres to is ownership. He's been incredibly fortunate to own The Walking Dead, Invincible, and his other major works. That ownership has given him creative freedom and financial success that most comic creators never experience. Kirkman encourages creators to think hard about intellectual property. If you can retain ownership of your characters and stories, do it. Self-publishing is harder, but the long-term benefits can be massive. That said, he's also realistic. He knows that working for Marvel or DC can be a great learning experience and a steady paycheck. He did work for hire early in his career. He even created Marvel Zombies, but his big breakthrough came from creator-owned work. Lesson 3, trust your gut. Kirkman believes a lot in instinct. He believes that overthinking can kill creativity. When he's writing, he follows his gut about what feels right for the story and characters. This doesn't mean he ignores feedback or never revises, but he trusts his initial creative impulses. If something excites him, he pursues it. If something feels flat, he moves on. For creators, this is a reminder that you have to develop confidence in your own voice. Study craft, learn from masters, but ultimately trust yourself. Your superpower is your own voice. At the same time, don't be precious about your ideas. If something isn't working, cut it. If killing a character makes a story better, do it. Serve the story the best way you know how. What you need is a willingness to start, commitment to keep going, and the courage to trust your instincts. Kirkman's advice to creators is clear. Make your work, own your work, trust your gut. If you're a creator watching this, I want to leave you with 3 actionable tips from Kirkman that can make you more productive and creative starting today. Tip 1. Focus on world building, not perfect plotting. Kirkman has said that he builds consistent worlds first, then throws characters into them, and lets the story develop organically. As long as you stay consistent and don't contradict yourself, he says you can make it seem like everything is planned meticulously, even though it's not. Stop obsessing over the perfect outline. Build your world, know your rules, and let your characters guide the story. Tip number 2, protect your creative space. When Kirkman writes the Walking Dead comic, he retreats to a basement, ignores phone calls and emails, and treats it like a vacation from the chaos of running a TV empire. He says it's the same process he's been using for 20 years when nobody knew who he was. Create a ritual, Find your creative space, whether it's a basement, a coffee shop, or early morning hours, and protect that time like it's sacred. Don't let success or pressure change what works. And tip number 3, work for the thrill of creation, not the paycheck. Kirkman worked for free or went into debt for the first years of his career. He says the main reward was getting his comics back from the printer and holding them in his hands. That sense of accomplishment kept him going. If you're waiting until you can make money from your creative work, you'll never start. Do it because you love making things. The success comes later. And you know what? Robert Kirkman practices what he preaches. Even with the massive success of the Invincible animated series and the Energon universe, his Transformers and G.I. Joe comic line, he still loves coming up with new ideas and launching new comics, no matter how busy he is. Case in point, he just launched Skinbreaker with legendary artist David Finch. Amazing. This guy never stops creating, and that's the final lesson right there. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe, and tell me your favorite Kirkman creation. Is it The Walking Dead, Invincible, Void Rivals, and why they resonate with you in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video.